E-ink digital notebooks have completely changed the way that I work over the past year or so. And now that I've tested 5 different ones, it's time for me to share my thoughts on the most expensive one that I have ever used, and it's over $1,000. And that would be the reMarkable Paper Pro. So let's get right into it. But before we do, I do want to say 2 different things. Now, number 1, this Paper Pro from reMarkable was sent out to me for free by the brand to check out, but no content was guaranteed. And number 2, if you do decide you wanted to purchase this, I do have an affiliate link down in the description and the top comment. It is a paid link and helps me out with a commission if you guys make that purchase, but I recommend you only purchasing it if you think it's right for you, because it's not perfect by any means. And that's about it. So let's get right into the review. So to give you a little bit of background on the device, let's get into the specifications and what it is. So unlike your normal tablet, these e-ink digital notebooks are basically an e-ink display device. This one in particular is a color e-ink device with a 10.8 inch high, 7.8 inch wide, and 8.2 inch depth tablet. It weighs at about 525 grams, which is 1.16 pounds. Its display is a 229 ppi color canvas display, and it does actually have a front lit adjustable light. As for the processor, it's sitting at a 1.8 inch gigahertz quad core processor with 2 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of internal storage. It does have a 5030 milliamp per hour battery, and it actually does run on its own proprietary operating system based on Linux, not on Android like most other tablets have. And for syncing things between your devices, there are applications on all the major operating systems like iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac OS, which is how you kind of sync things between the 2 devices if you want to throw files on there. And then they do have a paid service called Connect, which gives unlimited storage and the ability to be able to get things like additional templates that aren't available to the unpaid subscribers. And as for the stylus, it's actually called a marker on the reMarkable. And there's 2 different versions. There's the Marker Plus and the standard one. The Marker Plus essentially adds an eraser at the end, so you can just flip it around and erase stuff without having to mess with settings. And it does magnetize to the side of the tablet for easy storage. And the marker you see in this video is the Marker Plus. Now with all the specs out of the way, let's talk about what I did and what I did not like about each kind of aspect of this tablet. Now, number 1 is the build quality. The reMarkable Paper Pro is ridiculous when it comes to build quality. It is one of the best built devices, not just in the e-ink space, but most tablets in general. The build quality on this is incredibly nice. It has a full metallic feel, it's incredibly thin, but it is a bit on the heavy end of stuff. And the accessories that you can get with it are magnetized to the rear of the tablet, and all of that works really well. The front display on it, I really like. It feels nice, it feels high quality. I have to say, for build quality, in comparison to things like a Supernote or even a Penstar or anything like that, it is just in a level of its own, which it should for such a high price. Now, jumping into the display, you might be most interested in its color capabilities, because it's actually one of the few digital notebooks that offers color display. Now, I have to say this tablet is one of the most polarizing tablets for me, because I either really like it or I really don't like it. And I had to say, when I first got it about 6 months ago, I wasn't super interested in the color aspects of it. I didn't find much use for it. However, after a while of using it, I started incorporating the color more into just kind of like into dividing up like how important certain to-dos are and draw my attention to different parts of documents that I'm working on. Over about 6 months now, I am much more used to the color, and I think it actually is a really valuable and a really helpful way of adding some functionality to e-ink. It is a pretty cool technology as well. As for clarity, it is an extremely clear display. The pen works well. You can see really well. However, I have to say, I think the display on it is a little darker than it should be. When you compare a piece of paper to the tablet's display, you can see the tablet's display is quite a bit darker. And when it comes to reading or just kind of comprehension of what's on the display, it is not quite as easy to read as a piece of paper, or I have to say some of the other tablets that I've used. And it is a bit of a bummer because you feel like you have to use that front lit display because of the fact that it is darker to kind of make up for it. And I'd prefer to not honestly have that front lit display to make it feel more like you're actually reading a piece of paper. And now we're going to get into the section I think you guys are probably most interested in, and that is the software and the actual usability of the tablet. And let's start off with the marker, which isn't normally the thing that I pay attention to the most in a tablet, especially one like this. But I have to say the marker is impressive. Like it may only have the 4,000 something different pressure points. However, it does a really good job. And I assume this is because they built it from the ground up instead of being based on an Android platform and just running off of Android with a stylus. They really built it from the ground up. And I have to say the pen feels really nice, not because of the pen itself, but the actual like sensitivity and the different, like choosing between a pen, a pencil, a fountain pen, a highlighter, any of those things. Everyone really genuinely does feel like you are using the real thing on it. Especially, you can really see it with the pencil. When you kind of roll the pencil around in different ways, you can see even if you're creating one line, as you kind of tilt the pencil, it makes it so that it's a little bit wider and a little bit more dramatic. And you can really tell that they've thought through this. This is something that no other company I've seen is able to do, and it makes it feel like a much more realistic experience. It also has amazing templates. There are tons and tons of templates to choose from productivity to artwork to even music sheets. It's pretty cool that you can have such a wide array of essentially different notebook styles that you would spend so much money on and searching for online to be able to get all in one device. As for the file system, it makes it feel like each kind of individual file is its own notebook, and you can choose all the different templates and all that stuff within it. I have to say the file system is much better than some of the other tablets I've used. It's not my favorite. I still think a lot of these tablets really should probably feel more like a smartphone because that's just what people are used to, but it is a respectable and easy to navigate platform. And one of the recent things that it did update a couple months ago is they do have snap to shape. So you can draw a line and it snaps to being a perfectly straight line, or if you draw a square, it snaps to a perfectly sized square. It's a nice thing to be able to make your artwork and just your templates feel a little bit nicer. And then I also liked, this is the only one I've seen where it has an infinite page scroll. So you can just keep writing and you just scroll up and you have more things that you can write on. It's something that other tablets just create a whole new page for. So it's nice you can kind of keep all your thoughts together and just scroll up and down instead of creating a new page altogether. Now, as for the downsides of the software, the number one thing that I run into, and I think a lot of people will be annoyed by, is the lasso tool, especially in the erase function. Other tablets, you can basically just scribble over something with the lasso tool and it deletes basically every individual line that you've created. Whereas the lasso tool on this one is very, very specific. You have to like perfectly line the lasso around the different shapes to make it so that it deletes the shape you're wanting to get rid of. And it slows things down and is a little bit more clunky, I'd say, than the rest. And then the number two thing that is the most annoying thing about the software is the fact that it is based on Linux means you can't get the Kindle application. I read most of my books on the Kindle app, and most of the other tablets I have the functionality for Kindle, and this is the only one that I can't get Kindle on, and it really annoys me because these e-ink displays are perfect for reading books, and this massive, large color e-ink display is so perfectly suited to having Kindle on it, and it can't have it. And instead you have to use EPUB files, which I found are actually pretty difficult to get when they're DRM free, and you have to have DRM free files to be able to read them on the reMarkable, which means you have to remove the DRM from all the books that you're buying, which I question the legality of that. And so it is a bit of a bummer. I've barely read on this tablet at all because of that, and I keep finding my way to other tablets just so that I can read my Kindle. And I would just love that functionality on this tablet, but I can understand the restrictions because they based it off of Linux instead of basing it off of Android. But as for the software side of stuff, honestly, that's it. I don't really have many other complaints outside of those two things, but I have to say those are some pretty big deal breakers for, I think, quite a few people. Especially considering the cost of this thing, where you'd prefer for it to just basically do everything that the others can in one device. Now, jumping to the writing experience of the tablet, it is really nice. This is the fastest e-ink digital notebook I have used. When you write on it, it is immediate, there's no delay. When you delete things, it is immediate, there's no delay, and it is really, really impressive, honestly. All the other tablets seem to lag just ever so slightly when you're writing. This one doesn't have that. And so your writing experience really does feel like you're writing on a piece of paper. After about 6 months of using it, I do notice it doesn't want to turn itself on and off quite as easily. When I open up the cover on the tablet, it sometimes doesn't turn itself on. When I press the power button, sometimes I have to press it twice. It's kind of weird, and I don't really totally get that. But that is made up for the fact that you just have complete customization over your drawings. There are so many different pen styles, pencil styles, markers, all of that kind of stuff. It is just so capable when it comes to writing. Now, jumping over to accessories on this, I really do like the accessories. They sent me basically everything you can possibly get, which includes the typing folio, the leather folio, the upgraded marker. And they honestly are all probably worth the price that they are when you buy them. They're high quality, work well. The magnetic features of the reMarkable Paper Pro work well with the accessories. The keyboard actually does work really well. I still struggle with being able to incorporate both the typing experience and the writing experience. And so I personally don't use the keyboard all that much, but the keyboard itself is very nice. The experience of using it does work. So if you're looking for a distraction-free typing experience, not writing experience, I'd recommend getting the keyboard. I would have no qualms with it, but I generally use these more for drawing and writing, and so I don't really use the keyboard all that often. Now, to talk about competitors, I'm not going to go into each tablet. I actually did create a full-length article, which I'll put down in the description of the top comment, where I rank all the different tablets I have tested in the e-ink digital notebook space. But is this worth over $1,000? This was $1,008 when it was sent to me with all the accessories and stuff. It's over $1,000, so you're competing with an iPad. If you're somebody that needs a lot of flexibility in the tablet you're going to go with, I would just get a nice iPad for $999. But if you're looking for a truly distraction-free, great notebook, and reading on Kindle is not important to you, this is an amazing tablet. Like, seriously, it is. The build quality is ridiculous. The software is extremely well thought out, more so than any other tablet company I've seen in the digital notebook space. But if you need more flexibility, like web browsing or anything else, honestly, you're probably going to want to go with something like an iPad. But I would have no problem recommending the reMarkable Paper Pro if you're looking for a premium digital notebook. Just keep the things that I have mentioned in this video in mind when you're making that purchase. And if you wanted to check out another tablet, make sure on the screen right now is a link to the Supernote Manta and see my thoughts on that one, as it's its major competitor.